Hello my loves and welcome to a new reading instalment of my 12 book challenge. So we're in June. I'm very excited for June's book. This book actually wasn't meant to be read until next month. I did originally have this for July. However, the book that I was meant to read for this month, it was Priory of the Orange Tree, but when I did like my TBR, I didn't put in count readathons. Like it just completely went out of my head. And so when I did start up my June TBR, I was just like, I cannot read an 800 plus page book when I'm doing a readathon. Like, it's just going to be too much. Also, I took it out because by this point I was realising that I was struggling a bit with fantasy, and I thought pushing myself in a book that is an epic fantasy, that it's a big chunky book, I was just like, maybe this isn't wise. And I'm quite glad that I ditched the book, purely because if I kept it and forced myself to it, I probably would have put myself in a slump. So yeah, but I'm really excited for this book because I wanted to read it anyway. This has been on my radar, not for long, but for like a couple of months. It was when I started getting into my getting into horror, and I sort of went onto a few booktubers that I know are very into their horrors and thought, let me see what recommendations they got. And they talked quite a bit about this particular book, and I was quite keen purely because it's a very different take to mermaids. Because at first when they said it was to do with mermaids, I was like, no, I don't like reading books that's to do with mermaids or anything like that. Even if it's a fantasy book, it's just not something that appeals to me usually. Like, I don't mind I've forgotten what they're called now, sirens and stuff like that. I quite like them, but just like mermaids and that is just ugh, no. But when I heard what it was like, it is a very different take to mermaids, I was like, oh, I'm intrigued. So I actually put this on my wish list and thought I'll read it. But then when I asked for people for book recommendations, like books they really loved, this one person mentioned this book and said, you know, it is sci-fi, it is horror, it's gruesome, like it's also got quite like a interesting mystery thriller aspect to it. If you're not into that stuff, then this isn't for you. But I was just like, this is just a sign. So I'm going to be reading Into the Drowning Deep by Myra Grant. I have already started reading it. I'm on chapter 3, page 45. So for the first 20 pages, it was sort of like footage, sort of diaries, sort of background to things. So it was not made like really like a story quite yet at the start. It was sort of getting the background of what happened to this ship called the Atigatus, and like the reason, and like, you know, sort of a little bit of a background to all of that before we get into the story itself. So basically this book is about, from what I'm gathering, is mermaids that are cannibals, that they pretty much eat you and don't leave anything left. So basically, 7 years ago, the Atigators set off on a voyage to the Marina Trench to film a mockumentary bringing to life ancient sea creatures of legends. So basically, there has been this mockumentary where they do these sort of documentaries about legends, and to see whether these legends are actually true or whether they're hoax. So they did Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, things like that, and people absolutely loved watching that stuff rather than like other like paranormal thingies and stuff. So they carried on with it, and so they wanted to see if they could find mermaids. So they went to the specific place that potentially could have mermaids, and basically the ship was lost at sea. It finally did get recovered, but there was nothing left. No people, no signs of life, no signs of anything. And then some footage came where obviously we saw these mermaids basically killing all of the people on board Atigators. People, and like it sort of got shared. People just said it was a hoax. Other people were like, this is what happened. But basically the actual people who were doing the mockumentary, like the company for it, said that it wasn't real, it was just, you know, made up and all that, like what happened was just a tragedy and all of that. But however, there has been a new crew that has been assembled to investigate, and they'll discover that whatever is down there is definitely no joke. So we are currently following, I think we're following different characters, but the characters that I've met so far is Tori. Now, Tori's sister, older sister Anna, was a like sort of reporter on for, you know, television and all that. So she actually was part of this mockumentary, and she was on the Attigatus, and she did lots of videos to her little sister Tori, who is a marine biologist. Like, she likes to do all of that, like she loves to see and stuff like that. Her sister was more on the acting side of things and all of that. So they're very opposite tracks, but they were best of friends, did everything together, all of that. So Anna's last video call to Tori was basically her saying, I don't know whether I'm losing my mind, that it's just my mind playing tricks on me, all this and all that. But people are going missing, these things are there, and we're not, like, mermaids are real, but they're not what we think they are. And then you hear people scream, and then whoever's videoing her, she tells them to stop it, I'm done. And then basically that's the last time you see Anna, it's the last time Tori hears from Anna and stuff. So we're following Tori because she literally just got fired from like a sort of everyday little job while she's waiting to go back to university. She's just been fired. She's gone to have pizza with her parents before she goes back to uni and all that. And then one of her lab partners found her and said, I found something. So basically she's been looking at things to find out what happened at the Attigatus. She wants to know what happens to Anna, and until she knows what happens to Anna, she's not going to let things rest. So they just found some stuff that obviously is suggesting something happened. Apparently these whales got really agitated, really scared and all that, and then all of a sudden they went and they've completely gone missing. They've never been found again. So it looks like something scared them, and then they got eaten or whatever. So this opens up to Tori. I'm guessing Tori's going to probably be one of these crew members to investigate what happened at the Attigatus, possibly. I don't know, but it's very intense already. Like, there is a lot of science fiction sort of jargon in here, not in a sense of sci-fi, like space sci-fi, but more sci-fi in a sense of marine biology, about climate change, pollution, all of these things. And admittedly, if you're not into that stuff, it probably won't be it probably just bore you. You know, I'm not fully into this stuff. I'm very interested in how to help with climate change and all of that. I do help try and do stuff to save the planet and that. So like that kind of sense, like, I quite like reading. Like, I don't understand a lot of it, but to me it is bringing the story purely because it is to do with marine biology, it is to do with mermaids and stuff, and you need both of that. But it is gory already. So one of the bits, like the little footage bit, this is the description, it's not spoilery or anything. It says, there is a man who has been unzipped from crotch to throat, organs falling onto the deck in a heap. 3 of the creatures are clustered around a resulting mess, their faces buried in the offal, eating. There is a woman whose arms have been ripped from her shoulders, whose eyes staring nothingness, glazed over and cold. 2 more of the creatures are dragging her towards the rail. The cameraman runs. There is a splash behind him. The creatures have returned to the sea with their prey. Yeah. I was just like, oh good grief, that is graphic. And I've looked at some of the reviews and people's thoughts of this, and it is quite a gruesome book. But I'm really intrigued. Like, I think it's, in regards to horror, it's more of like a cannibalism, gory horror rather than like spooky horror and all that. Like, it has got the creepiness of, you don't know when these mermaids going to appear, and like the fact that these mermaids can actually climb on board and do what they do. Like, yeah. I'm very intrigued. It's an absolute scorcher of a day today. It's meant to be 26-27 degrees. It's currently 9:30, so I'm actually going to take this book, since it's all set in the sea and sun and stuff like that. I thought, what a better way to actually read this book is to sit on the beach near the sea and read it. So I'm going to take this with me. I'm going to pack a bag. I'm going to bring a blanket. I'm going to bring a pillow. I'm going to make myself an ice cold drink to take, and I'm going to probably make a little fruit medley to take as well, and possibly something else. I don't want anything that will melt, so maybe something else just to have a snack there. I think I might come back around lunchtime, because it's meant to get really high then, and I don't think I will be able to cope, but we'll see. I do find when I'm near the sea, it's a bit choppier, it's not as hot, so, but I do want to go back and get some lunch, because I am someone that if I don't eat, I get a really bad headache. So I'm going to get everything all prepped up. I think I'm not going to go fully bikini, just because I'm not that kind of person. Like if I do a bikini, I'd rather do it in the garden or something, but I think I might bring my bikini top, and if it is really hot, have my bikini top and just keep my shorts on. But I will bring it, I'll decide whether I put it on or not. But yeah, I'm going to get everything all prepped, and then I'll get going, and I will read some of this next to the sea and give me that atmosphere like this book is. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this vlog. I really have got big predictions for this book. Like I do feel like this is going to be a 5-star read, so I hope it will be, because May's book was an absolute stunner of a book. I still think about A House in the Cerulean Sea like every single day. I just can't get those children out of my mind, and it would be nice to have another 5-star book, because I feel like the tier ranking, when I finish this whole like year, the 12 months, I want a tier rank, and it would be nice to have some books that are 5 stars that I really enjoyed, to see which one would be the actual ultimate winner. So yeah, big predictions, but we'll see. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this vlog, and I will catch up with you when I've got more reading updates to share with you. I'm currently at the beach, well, like a rock beach sort of thing. It's not like a proper beach, but it's next to the sea. And I've just been reading and watching all of the boats and the like cargo ships go past, which is cool. So I've read quite a bit of Into the Drowning Deep. I'm on chapter 6, page 89. And so basically, they are sending out a new ship to determine what happened with the Attigators and all of the crew, but also to actually get full proof of the mermaids. So I think we're going to follow multiple POVs now. So we've got Tori, who is the sister of Anna, who obviously died on the Attigators. We have got Dr. Gillian Toff, who is going to go on board the ship. She believes in mermaids. She pretty much was the one to tell Attigators and all that mermaids are real and blah blah blah. So she's going because she feels guilty that she made everyone go and find these mermaids and now they're dead, so she's going. This man called Theodore Blackwell, which is Dr. Toff's estranged husband, so they're married but they're like separated. He works for Imagine, which is the like mockumentary company, all of that, so he's going as well. We've got Tori going, we've got Lewis, who is her lab partner. I'm not sure if there's any more people. I'm guessing there will be because like, they're going to need other people involved. But that's the characters we've met so far. Very intrigued what's going to happen. It's very clear that there is a massive big cover-up, and it's sort of like, why? Like, is it that they know the mermaids were the cause of it, or is there something else? So it's a bit slow paced at the moment. There's not much going on. It's just like sort of telling us about like this new crew and this new ship's going to happen, and they're going to go back to where the Attigators was and see if they can find a mermaid. So we're just getting that at the minute, but I have a feeling once we're on the ship and going there, things are going to pick up. But what I'm reading is very interesting. There's a bit which I'll explain when I get home, but there was a bit about using jellyfish sort of stuff to reform nerves and stop paralysis. So that was interesting. I'll read that little bit out. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's just a bit slow at the minute, but I think that's because they're like just getting ready to go on board the ship and all that. So yeah, I think I'm going to read for another hour, and then I think I'm going to head home and make some lunch, and I might sit out in the garden and carry on reading because it's nice weather. It's warm, but there's quite a nice breeze. I don't know whether it's a breeze because I'm next to the sea or what, but yeah, I'm going to sit for another hour and read, and I'm going to head back and get some lunch because I'm hungry, and then I'll either I think I might just stay sitting outside just because it's nice and I don't want to not be in the sun. I love the sun. The sun's my happy place. So yeah, I will catch up probably when I've got to halfway, I think, to give you more updates and everything. So I'll talk to you then. Hiya my loves, no time, no see. I haven't really updated too much purely because it's taken me a long time to read this book. I am here. I think I'm about a chapter away from the halfway mark. I'm on page 203, chapter 15. And I'm going to be totally honest. This book is boring at the minute. It's boring. I don't think there's very much character building. Like, I don't overly know much about our characters apart from what they do job-wise and little bits here and there. It's very scientific. Like, I've actually just looked back on some people's reviews just to, you know, see whether what they said, and like a lot of people said, you know, it is very scientific. If it's not your jam, it's going to be one of those moments. Like, some people love this book, and that's because they're either fascinated by scientific stuff or they're in that kind of job. For me, the scientific parts of this book it's dragging. I'm bored. I'm like, right, where is the action? I want to get to these mermaids who are pretty much cannibals. Where are they? Like, we've finally got to them. Literally, the last chapter is, well, the last two chapters, they have just met a ton of mermaids and realised that they're right underneath the ship they're on, and basically they're sort of now knowing when sunrise comes that these mermaids are going to come and attack. So we're at this part, so I'm kind of like, oh goody, hopefully shit's going to go down now. But I am bored. I'm not going to lie, I've fallen asleep about 3 times reading this book, and I can't even say that it was because I was tired and had to have a nana nap sort of thing. It was purely I was reading this book and I got so bored that I fell asleep. I will also be honest and say a few bits of the chapters that I've read, I have skim read. There's some bits where I'm like, I don't care. There is a lot of character POVs in this, and I love that. I love a multi-POV book. But I will be totally honest, I don't have much background with these characters. Like, I've read reviews and they're saying, like, there's a lot of diverse rep. There's neurodivergent rep, there is queer rep, there is deaf rep. But if I'm going to be totally honest, unless you really, really look and really pay attention, it's just little hints here and there. Like, the only bit of rep, in my opinion, that's very much there and talked about is these two characters, which I'll get to in a minute. These two twin characters, they are deaf. They have their older sister who is their translator, and basically they constantly sign. They do sign language, they do ASL, and we have a lot of talk about that, and I love that. I've always been fascinated with ASL anyway. I used to do a bit of Macinton with my daughter when she was younger because she wouldn't speak. Not purely because she was non-verbal or anything like that. It was if she did, like, apart from like my family, she wouldn't talk to others. She was very anxious and nervous around other people that she wouldn't. So when she was with people she wasn't sure about, she would sort of sign. So we had a bit of Macinton language to reverse, but she also had like select words for certain things, like water was a very different name and things like that. So I've always been fascinated. I'm not gonna lie, I've always wanted to sort of actually learn it, but I've never got around to do it because life and things like that. But it has always been something I've been interested in, so I absolutely love that rep and I find it really fascinating. So it's been talked about more in this book that I focus more on it. But in regards to like queer rep, like, it's sort of mentioned, but I'm sort of like, well, actually, who is it? Like, I don't know. And in regards to the non-divergent rep, like, again, it's certainly been mentioned, and I'm like, right, it must be her. But again, not overly sure, because to me there hasn't been much background in the characters. Like, the characters' background we've got is what they do, like whether they are scientists or whether they are journalists or whether they are you know, to do with the entertainment, with Imagine Entertainment, stuff like that. We know that. We know a little bit of brief history in some people, for example Tori, and like Tori and Dr. oh my god, I've forgotten the name, Dr. Gillian, I'm going to say, because I just know her first name, like Dr. Gillian. Yeah, Dr. Gillian Toff. We know her background as well, like a little bit, but that's it. Some of the rest, like, you just know because of the science side of things, and I don't like that. Like, for me, if you're going to have a lot of characters and a lot of character building, I want a lot of character building. I want to know what makes them tick, and I want to know what their favourite activities are, their favourite food, their favourite colours, like all of that. And I'm just getting information here and there, not really actual character building. Like, I can't, in most of my books, I can imagine a character, how, like, from their description and nice things, and have a character in my head, like, you know, whether it's a character that I picked an actress or an actor for, or whether it's just a complete imagination kind of character I've made up. But I usually in books can do that by the descriptions, by the whole character building. I can't with these characters. I cannot actually imagine someone and then have that in my head when we talk about it. I can't get any of that, because it is more information dumping, this and that, not really like emotional side of things. So in regards to characters, we've got a group of characters that we obviously see it quite a bit of. So we have Tori, who is a marine biologist. I'm not going to go through all of their, like, what they do, because I can't remember. But Tori is a marine biologist, and she's gone there purely because she wants to know what happened to her sister, because her sister, which I, for the love of God, now can't remember her name. I can't remember her name. It's like, I got my head feeling that it's like Anna. Oh no, Anne. All right. I was near close. So her sister Anne was on that Attigatus. She was one of the journalists. She was the one behind the camera, that side of things. And she was an Attigatus, and she obviously died. And it came to the whole thing that it was mermaids, but some people said it was hoax and all that. But Tori has always wanted to know what happened. So her and her lab partner, Lewis, who was the other character, but we don't get much of him, they basically have been looking for signs to suggest whether there were mermaids or something, and they finally found it. So that's why they've gone onto this new ship, because for Lewis it's like a science, like massive big science thing, that it will help him get on his way with certain things, whereas Tori, it's to finally get answers about her sister and what happened. So we have those two. Then we have Olivia, who is the journalist. So basically she is the person that Anne would have been, and basically she's there to report back and all of that. Now she is the one I think has is like neurodivergent. I think she's got autism or Asperger's. I'm not 100% sure, just the little bits that's been said, that's sort of where I'm wondering where she is. But basically she struggles to talk to people. Like, she is fine when she's reporting, because it's sort of behind a camera, she's acting, she's not herself, she's not her true self, she is someone she's made herself be when she's reporting and everything. So she can do that. That's why she likes that job, because she can do that. She isn't true to herself, she isn't her own person, she's acting, so she can do that. But when it's just herself, she struggles to talk to people, to understand them and all of that. So we've got Olivia, and basically I think she's taking the shining to Tori, because Tori was the only person who didn't want to talk to her and all that. And I know Tori's got a bit of a crush on her, so I think they're both lesbians. Like I said, it doesn't actually, like, in hindsight, you don't need a book that pinpoints, say, like, these lesbians and all of that. But it's also at that stage where you don't really know, like, there's no background to them to really know. So it's like sort of a judgment, and I don't like having that judgment. I don't like to judge and think, okay, they're lesbians, when actually they might not be. They might be straight and just, you know, appreciate a girl's beauty sort of thing. You know, I do that. I appreciate girls' beauty. Doesn't mean I'm a lesbian. So I don't like that sense of that. I feel like I have that judgment, if you know what I mean. So Olivia's that. We then have Dr. Gillian Toff, which we do know quite a bit of background to. So Tori, we know background around. Dr. Gillian Toff we do too, because she was the one who told everyone that mermaids were real, that, like, there was scientific evidence that there were mermaids real. And because of that, Imagine Entertainment was like, right, because they're doing these documentaries to prove that monsters are real sort of thing. So they're like, right, we're going to go and see whether mermaids are real. Hence the Attigators, and hence everything went to pot. And basically, Dr. Gillian Toff feels that this is all her fault, and that she's responsible for all of these deaths, which is why she's gone on to this ship in particular, because she basically wants to make sure that A, she was right, and B, that this doesn't happen again, that she protects everyone and like, you know, blah blah blah. And I think she also feels like doing this may like repent from her sins kind of thing. But also with her, she is married to one of the Imagine's entertainment lackeys, which is Theo Blackwell. They're married, however they're estranged, so they're separated but they haven't divorced or anything like that. But they're those couples that they hate each other but they love each other still, and you know, they would still look out for one another and things like that. Like, yeah. So we have that background of her. We then have the twins. So we have Holly and Heather. They're identical twins and they are deaf. They were born deaf. And then they have their older sister, Hallie, who is their translator, which is quite interesting because usually you get someone completely different. But no, Hallie is the older sister. When the parents knew that the twins were going to be deaf, they pretty much set Hallie to be a translator and basically constantly be there with the twins and make sure that they're okay. So like in other sense, she's more of a parent than an older sister. So the twins are deaf. They both are scientists in STEM. So Heather does like I can't say submersive stuff. So she goes deep down in the water and all that. She has like a special little underwater thing, like a submarine, but not submarine. And it's a whole big discriminatory sort of thing because they're saying, how can she do it when she's deaf and she needs to know like hearing all that, but actually she's better off with it because of certain things that they do and all that. It's very complicated, but it's very fascinating. She does that, whereas her twin sister Holly more does like the chemical side of things. So completely different sisters in that sense. And then Hallie is a scientist in her own right, but it's more overshadowed because she translates and all that, but she actually is a scientist in the sense that she understands like animals' communication sort of thing. So those three are quite fascinating. I do like their characters. I wish we had a bit more of them, but the rep for them is brilliant. Like the discrimination and like the fact that they have a disability and like the fact that they're disabled, they're women and all of that, like this whole prejudice thing. So that really is fascinating in my opinion, and also disgusting that this happens. So we have them, and then we briefly have these two husband and wife. I can't remember their names, but they're like hunters, and basically they're there to kill any type of animal that's going to cause threat to them. So basically they're there to kill the mermaids. So this is where things going. So this is a spoiler, so I am going to put on here that this is going to be a spoiler vlog. But basically Heather went down to the Challenger Deep, which is no one's ever been able to get to. She went down there for like a scientific purpose, but also to see if she can find any of the mermaids, because they sort of believe that if they're going to be there, they're going to be there. And she finds them. She finds a mermaid and she's like, okay, there's one, brilliant. Then there's like, oh, there's more than one. She ends up turning the lights and there are thousands. They're everywhere. They're circled around her, and she notices that they're not there as a curiosity sort of thing. They're there pissed that she is in their home, and so they start attacking her little submarine boat thing. And basically she's trying to get up back onto the surface, but she's also worried if she does that the mermaid's going to follow and then probably attack the ship. So she's like, what the hell do I do? Just as she thinks, nope, I want to get out of here. Like, you know, I've got scientific stuff to show that they're alive, but I want to get out of here now. And basically she starts going up, but when you descend down and descend up, you're meant to go really slowly, but she ends up going really fast. And just as she thinks, ooh, finally, she gets whacked at the top of a thing and it cracks open, water goes in, and she dies. She doesn't die by water, she dies by the fact that she gets gobbled up. Like, you don't actually get... I think she dies in impact with the water, so she's already dead, but obviously now she's probably been gobbled by the mermaids. So now everyone has seen that mermaids are alive, that they've just killed one of their science people. Obviously this the twin sister's absolutely devastated. The older sister, Hallie, she's devastated, but she's also sort of like having to make sure she's protecting Holly. So now, like, we've had that. So basically it's proof that mermaids are alive, and it's also shown that these mermaids aren't your typical folklore mermaids that we know, like Little Mermaid, stuff like that, because they're not. They're monsters. They are cannibals. They pretty much eat you. So I'm kind of thinking now things are going to pick up, because the mermaids know where they are. They're going to come probably out and attack after sunrise. So it's like, are we now going to have a bloodbath like the little bits in the beginning that explain what happened in Atigatus? And if that's sense, then I think the book will pick up, because that's what I'm here for. If I'm going to be totally honest, I want to see the bloodbath and what happens. But the science side of things, I just think it's dragged on. I think it's too descriptive, too draggy on, and I do feel like I'm reading a science non-fiction book at times, and I'm like, no. So I'm hoping we're going to get some mermaid action now to pick this book up, because at the moment I'm sort of at a 2-star here. So yeah, so that's where I am. I'm hoping to read quite a bit now. I do think now mermaids have been involved that things are going to be fast paced, so I'm hoping to try and get quite a bit of this book done, because I've been reading this for a while now and I'm just fed up of reading it. And I do have so many books left that I need to read, because of reasons or commitments and that, and I haven't got that many days left to read. So yeah, so I'm going to continue reading this, and I'll probably update you if I have any significant thoughts that I need to share. If not, I'll update you again when I've finished, give you my final thoughts and my final rating. But it's not the best at the minute. Also, I didn't know that Myra Grant is a pen name for Shannon Maguire. I didn't realise that. Now, I have never read a Shannon Maguire book, but I know she's a very loved author, specifically with the Wayward Children books. So I didn't realise that, so that was news to me. But anyway, I will catch up with you later, whether it's when I finish the book or whether there's something I really need to share. But I am now going to go and continue reading. So let's do that. Hello, my loves. I have finally finished Into the Drowning Deep by Myra Grant. And I don't know how I feel about this book. I have put it on Storygraph and Goodreads at 3.5 stars. It's between 3 and 3.5, so I put it as 3.5. Purely just by the diverse rep in this book, and also how it did get quite horrific when the mermaids finally got involved again. It did pick up. Like, once the mermaids got on to the ship, things went down very quickly, and I enjoyed that, and it was very, very, very fast paced then. Like, I feel like I flew through the second half of the book very quickly. Like, I did actually read the second half of the book in like one sitting, which I haven't done in a while. My problem with this book is, at first it was the characters, just because I didn't feel there was enough character building there. However, as we got into the book, it did start actually making sense. So I said I wasn't really sure about which character was the queer rep and all that, and I felt that I was making assumptions and judgments, and I didn't like doing that. Tori, who's like, I would say, our main focus in this book in character-wise, Tori is bisexual, so she has had relationships with men and females. She hasn't actually got a preference, so she doesn't actually have a preference of gender either. She's quite happy in, if she likes their personality, she'll get with them, sort of thing. So I quite liked that, and that sort of, it wasn't that she preferred boys or she preferred women. It wasn't even like equal either, like, oh, actually I like them both the same way. It's sort of, if they've got a fantastic personality, it doesn't matter if they're a girl or a boy. So I quite like that. Olivia is a lesbian, and she is also, I'm not sure whether she's autistic or she's in the Asperger's spectrum, which makes sense on why, like, she is the neurodivergent, because like, you don't want to, they didn't actually put a name to it. I loved her rep actually, because I felt like her character went a long way, considering the problems she has with people. Like, she's an actress, she's a reporter for Imagine Entertainment, and you would think because of what like the problems she has, she wouldn't be able to interview people, but she actually explained it very early on, before we really understood much about her. She explained that she's acting, she's behind a camera, and she can see the body language, so it's easier for her. But actually being her true self, that's when the problems all start. So I felt like her character grew in this book, and I absolutely loved watching her character growth. I couldn't help rooting for her, and I was like, please don't kill her off, please don't kill her off. Like, out of all of them, I kind of didn't want her to die. Thankfully she didn't. Spoiler, she didn't. Tori's character, I really, really did enjoy. I did feel at times, I kind of can understand it. It was very much like her character was the spotlight, and I can kind of understand why, because Imagine pretty much made her go onto this ship and do what she was doing purely for the entertainment factor, because she was a family member who witnessed all of this going on. Like, she was there for like the entertainment value in regards to Imagine Entertainment when they shared like what happened with the mermaids and all that. So I did feel like her character got a lot of limelight, and sometimes I was like, well, there's not really much going on at the moment. I don't really care for her. So there was moments where I was like, ugh, like I want someone else. I quite liked Dr. Gillian Toff. I really liked, like, she knew mermaids were real, and then when she found that discovery and all that, and we kind of sort of felt like, you know, I don't know, I had a feeling that she wanted to study these mermaids, you know, and actually in fact she just wanted to be sure she was right, and what she did with her Attigatus, like, she was right, she didn't do it, like, she didn't risk people's lives and it wasn't true and blah blah blah. Like, she just wanted that sort of answer to everything. And so when she obviously was like, right, I was right, like, why am I doubting myself, she was then like, we need to blow them all up, sort of thing. So it was quite, I would quite like that, because I thought actually she isn't one of the science people who actually want to keep the mermaids, study them and all of that, and probably cause more problems than necessary. I really liked, I loved the mermaid bit. Like, they weren't really mermaids, they were more sirens. I loved, like, the gore. I just loved the gore. It was so brutal, and I also liked the fact that we were learning quite a bit about them. I must admit, I am confused with the ending, is why I didn't boost this up anymore. I think if the ending made sense and it didn't felt so rushed, this probably would have been bumped up to a 4-star. But the ending, to me, I did not understand, and I am going to put on here that this is a spoiler vlog anyway, but I'm giving a spoiler here. So basically at the end, a lot of people die. A lot of people die, but like the main characters do live. So Tori lived, Olivia lived, the remaining twin and Hallie lived. So the people that, like, the main characters in here, they all did live. But Tori basically finds out that she went down into the water, and this is what confused me. She went into the water where all of these mermaids were, and none of them went for her, and I don't get why. I do not understand why they didn't go for her. I don't get it. They all saw her and they just didn't go for her, and I was just like, why? Like, they have literally attacked pretty much everyone they've seen. Why did you not go for her? Like, it was just, if anything, she should have died. In my opinion, she should have died. So I was kind of like, well, this is just stupid. Like, she is with dozens of them and they haven't gone after her. Like, what the hell? And like, even if there was a reason behind it, like, there was sort of a suggestion there was something behind it, but it was never actually explained. And I was like, I don't get it. I don't get it. But basically, while she's underwater, she found the mother of mermaids. So it turns out that these mermaids, or these sirens, whatever you want to call them, these siren mermaid things that aren't, they're just fucked up basically, they're males, and they're actually bringing the woman, the lady, their like boss in that sense, the food. So she's massive. She can't go above sea. She illuminates a lot of light, but she doesn't like any other light. And Tori noticed that. So Tori realised that that these male siren mermaids, whichever one you want to call them, they are giving her food. And so technically if you wipe them out, she, in hindsight, will struggle because she can't go above board to get food and stuff like that. So Tori realised that, and she also realised that the sirens, this big thing, doesn't like light. It doesn't like any other light apart from their light. So she like finally gets back on board and pretty much tells Olivia, because Olivia was on like the captain's deck, she managed to put down the shutters, which I'll get to in a minute. She managed to do that, and basically she said, don't ask, just turn all of the lights on, light it all up. And so she did, and basically they all like ran away. And then it sort of ended like that. So basically they did like a SOS, and like 2 days later this I don't know what kind of oh, it was a naval ship, the USS Datlow. It came and basically brought them back, and because they had a mermaid on the ship, they actually captured a mermaid. They took it back. They've also got dead mermaids that they brought back to study and things like that. It just ended like that. It just ended in that, like, you don't know really what went on. All you sort of know is that there is a big, massive female siren mermaid. I don't know what it is. To me, it looked like a massive, big monster octopus thing. It's there, left on its own, and basically, you know, it's going to keep killing. I just thought it ends really anticlimactical, and I was just like, I also didn't have a lot of answers to some of the questions that sort of all of a sudden arised in this book, and I was just like, oh, like for example, like these shutters. So throughout this book, I don't know if I mentioned it, but throughout this book they test these shutters to basically stop the whatevers to come in, and none of them worked. They did not work. They finally got it to work right at the end, but the captain and his crew got completely slaughtered by the mermaids, couldn't put the shutter down because he had the code. Thankfully, Theo, which is the head of like Imagine, also had the code, so you know they managed to get the shutters down. But it was the first thing of like, why did they not work? Like, was it actually they said they didn't work, but actually they were working? Like, it was one of those ones where like, were they working and they were lying because they wanted to actually have proof and bring back mermaids back, and not thinking that was going to be a slaughterhouse or what? I don't really know. It was also the whole thing of all of a sudden these mermaids just jumped off the ship. Like, and so it was mentioned that the mermaid that they captured, that Hallie, so the not the deaf sister but the older sister, she managed to communicate with the mermaid that they caught, and basically that mermaid actually protected her and basically did some signal, and the mermaids backed off, sort of thing. And so it sort of suggested that maybe this mermaid signaled to say, you're killing people, they're not hurting you, you're killing them, that's why they're hurting you. I don't know, it didn't explain things, so I was left there like, I don't understand that. Just all of a sudden these mermaids just jumped off, didn't bother her anymore. Tori was in the water and literally she was surrounded, and they saw her and they didn't kill her, and I was like, of all the people to be killed, it should have been her. And yeah, so it was a very disappointing ending. It was an ending where I was like, I don't really know what happened. And also I'm at that bit of like, well, what happened to these mermaids? Is it they just stay there? And what, you know, people are going to still go out on ships, they're still going to do things. Is it going to be a constant, whoever goes near where the mermaids are, they're going to get killed? Or is it going to be that they actually learn about them so they can wipe them completely out of existence so it didn't harm people? You don't know. And I don't think there's going to be another book to answer those questions. I don't know. I just felt the ending was rushed. It was incomplete. And it just didn't give me any answers, and it just felt a little bit far-fetched that the fact that all of our characters that were in this book managed to live, apart from the two hunter killers, but they didn't really have a big part. But that was quite sad actually, because it was like, oh, it was like quite a nasty death, and it wasn't by the mermaids, it was by the mermaid's toxin, and oh yeah. So yeah, I had high hopes for this. It didn't work out, but I'm glad I read it, and in regards to like the gore factor, I thought it was brilliant. Like that side of things was excellent, and I was just like, oh, that was a few moments I was like, oh, that's wrong. The science part, I appreciated it, but it went over my head, and I felt sometimes that it was too much of it. Like I could have done with less of that. But yeah, I'm glad I read it. It's not something I would say I would recommend it. I think if people love reading about STEM and science and like all the biology stuff and all that, they'll probably be fascinated with this book. But if it's not something you're interested in or you don't understand, then it's probably not going to be for you, because it's very heavy based and it might bore you. So yeah, I'm glad I read it. I'm glad I gave it a go. I'm certainly, like, I know this is like Shannon Maguire but with a different pen name, and I know I think for her Myra Grant pen name, I think she does like thrillers and horror sort of things, whereas I think Shannon Maguire is more fantasy and like that kind of thing. So I'm interested in the author. Certainly want to have a look into like her other Myra Grant work, but also her like main work, like Shannon Maguire. So yeah, but yeah, thank you for watching this vlog. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have read this book and what your thoughts were. But yeah, thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.